The assessment. The massive observation deck aboard the Merivan flagship Dominant Consequence offered a panoramic view of the distant stars. High Commander Valtek stood with his 4 arms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the soft violet lighting, as he gazed at the holographic display of a small blue-green planet. Earth, so unassuming, yet the next jewel to be added to the Merivan Imperium's collection. "Tell me again why this backwater world warrants our attention," Valtek said, not bothering to turn toward Intelligence Officer Lisha, who had just entered the deck. Lisha approached cautiously, her slender form moving with the characteristic grace of her species. Unlike the commander's reptilian features, her pale, almost translucent skin and large, pupilless eyes marked her as one of the Imperium's specialized intelligence analysts. "The Strategic Council believes Earth represents an optimal expansion target, Commander. The humans have rich resources, a habitable world, and according to our assessment, primitive defensive capabilities." She projected additional data onto the main display. "They've barely reached their own moon and have only rudimentary nuclear weapons. Their civilization is divided into competing nation-states with no unified planetary government." Valtek nodded approvingly. "Perfect. The Imperium's divide and conquer approach should work flawlessly. We'll offer support to one faction against the others, then absorb them all once they're weakened." Lisha hesitated, her fingers nervously adjusting the translucent data pad in her hands. "There is something else you should know, Commander. My analysis suggests these humans display unusual traits that don't align with our standard conquest models." "Explain," Valtek demanded, finally turning to face her directly. His vertical pupils narrowed. "They are remarkably adaptable. In just a few centuries, they've progressed from horse-drawn transportation to rudimentary space travel. Their technological development curve is nearly vertical compared to other species we've encountered." She swiped through several images: human history, warfare, technological innovations, and they show abnormal resilience. Their entire history is marked by conflict, yet they recover with astonishing speed. Valtek waved a dismissive hand. "All species fight among themselves. It's why we're able to conquer them so easily. They've already weakened each other. With respect, Commander, the humans are different. They fight constantly, yes, but they learn from each conflict. They innovate during crisis at rates that defy our predictive models, and they show a peculiar tendency to unite against external threats." Commander Valtek's secondary arms twitched with irritation. "Are you suggesting we should fear a pre-FTL species? The Imperium has conquered 37 worlds, Officer Lisha. Many were more advanced than this Earth." "Not fear, Commander. Caution." Lisha brought up one final display, a timeline of human warfare, highlighting their rapid weapons development and tactical evolution. "Our standard projections might not apply here." The Strategic Council meeting that followed did nothing to reinforce Lisha's concerns. Gathered around the massive mural-linked table, the 7 highest-ranking officials of the invasion force dismissed her warnings as overly cautious. "Officer Lisha's risk assessment is noted," said Strategic Director Morev, his cybernetically enhanced brain processing multiple data streams simultaneously. "However, the conquest window is optimal. Earth has detected our probe satellites, but lacks the technology to understand them. They remain divided and vulnerable." Lisha made one final attempt. "The humans have a saying in one of their languages: united we stand, divided we fall. Our presence may trigger the united response." High Commander Valtek ended the debate with a slam of his primary fist. "The decision is made. The Merivan Imperium will commence invasion operations in 12 cycles. Prepare the first wave. We'll target their military installations and communication hubs simultaneously. Victory will be swift." As the command staff filed out, Lisha remained, staring at the holographic Earth slowly rotating before her. "They don't understand what they're about to awaken," she whispered to herself. The invasion began precisely as planned. 50 Merivan warships dropped out of hyperspace beyond Earth's moon, immediately jamming Earth's primitive satellite communications. Within hours, the first wave of attack ships entered the atmosphere, targeting military bases across the planet. From the command center, Vaultek watched with satisfaction as the initial strikes hit their marks. Nuclear missile silos in what humans called Russia and the United States were destroyed before they could launch. Major military communications centers went dark. Precision strikes disabled power grids across Europe and Asia. Phase 1 complete, Commander, reported Fleet Officer Jens. Minimal resistance encountered. Earth's primitive aircraft were easily neutralized. Excellent, Vaultek replied. Begin Phase 2. Land ground forces at the designated control points. The second wave deployed transport ships carrying Merivan shock troops to 16 strategic locations around the planet. Equipped with energy shields, plasma weapons, and battle armor that could withstand direct hits from Earth's most powerful weapons, the troops established forward bases with practiced efficiency. But by the third day, the reports coming back to the command ship took on a different tone. Commander, we're facing unexpected difficulties in Sector 7. Fleet Officer Jens reported, confusion evident in his voice. Explain, Vaultek demanded. The humans are adapting to our attack patterns. They've abandoned conventional military responses and shifted to something they call guerrilla tactics. Small, mobile units are striking our positions, then disappearing before we can respond. Lisha, who had been monitoring the reports, approached the command table. They're doing exactly what I predicted, Commander. They're adapting. Vaultek dismissed her concern. All species fight back when invaded. It's meaningless. Our technological advantage is absolute. But over the next 3 days, the situation deteriorated further. Merivan ground forces reported increasingly effective human counterattacks. In what the humans call the Alps, an entire Merivan unit was lost when the humans triggered an avalanche, burying their camp under thousands of tons of snow. In the Amazon rainforest, natives with primitive projectile weapons somehow managed to disable a Merivan scout ship by targeting specific vulnerable points. Most concerning of all, the humans had begun to capture Merivan technology. Commander, we have a serious problem. Security Director Pax announced during the emergency briefing on Day 6. The humans have obtained several pieces of our equipment. They're already attempting to reverse engineer our shield technology. Impossible, Vaultek replied. No species could understand our technology that quickly. Lisha projected the latest intelligence onto the display. They've networked their scientists globally, Commander. Research that would normally be conducted by competing nations is now being shared instantly worldwide. They've set aside centuries of rivalry and days. The images showed human scientists in different countries working simultaneously on captured Merivan equipment, sharing findings through their primitive, but now partially restored internet. And that's not all. Lisha continued, displaying footage of human civilians building barricades, manufacturing homemade explosives, and modifying civilian vehicles for combat. They're mobilizing their entire population, not just military. Everyone. Vaultek stared at the images, his confidence visibly shaken for the first time. This is not standard resistance behavior. No, Commander, it isn't. Lisha agreed. I tried to explain before. Humans don't respond like other species. They thrive on challenge. They unite against external threats, and they adapt with extraordinary speed. As if to emphasize her point, an alarm blared through the command center. Perimeter breach at Base Theta, shouted a communications officer. Humans have penetrated the shields. The display shifted to real-time footage from a Merivan base in what humans called Australia. A wave of modified civilian vehicles was crashing through the perimeter, each equipped with what appeared to be hastily constructed but effective disruptors that created localized failures in the Merivan shield technology. How did they determine the resonance frequency of our shield so quickly? Strategic Director Morov asked, his cybernetic implants blinking rapidly as he processed the implications. They didn't need to fully understand it, Lisha explained. They just tried everything until something worked. It's how they operate, relentless experimentation. By the end of the first week, the Merivan forces had suffered unprecedented casualties. 3 ground bases had been overrun entirely. 5 scout ships had been captured. And worst of all, the humans were learning, adapting, and becoming more dangerous by the hour. In the command center, High Commander Vaultek faced the grim reality of their situation. "We've lost 20% of our ground forces," he admitted to his assembled staff. "And the humans are now targeting our orbital positions with modified missiles." Lisha stepped forward, no longer the cautious analyst but now the only one who truly understood what they were facing. "Commander, we must withdraw while we still can. The humans are not merely resisting. They're mobilizing for total war. They've united their entire planet against us." Vaultek stared at the tactical display, showing the spreading human counteroffensive. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar: doubt. "The Imperium has never abandoned an invasion," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The Imperium has never invaded Earth before," Lisha replied softly. As if to punctuate her assessment, another alarm sounded, more urgent than before. "Multiple launches detected from Earth's surface," called out the sensor officer. "They've modified their nuclear weapons with elements of our shield technology." Vaultek watched in disbelief as the trajectories appeared on the display, each missile now capable of penetrating Merivan defenses. The humans had turned the Imperium's own technology against them in just 7 days. "Perhaps," Vaultek said slowly, "we have underestimated these humans." On screens across the command center, images showed human forces advancing on Merivan positions worldwide, their faces set with grim determination. They fought not as separate nations, but as a single species defending their home. Only a fool would invade Earth, and the Merivan Imperium was quickly learning why. The reckoning. A strange silence had fallen over the command deck of the dominant Consequence. Where once confidence and military precision had reigned, now uncertainty hung in the air like a toxic cloud. High Commander Vaultek stood before the tactical display, watching as another Merivan ground base, the 5th in 2 days, fell to human forces. "How?" he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "How are they doing this?" Intelligence Officer Lisha approached, careful to maintain a respectful distance. She had been right about the humans, but there was no satisfaction in watching her predictions unfold into disaster. "They call it asymmetric warfare, Commander," she explained, projecting new intelligence onto the display. "When outmatched in conventional combat, humans historically adapt to unconventional methods." The display showed humans in different environments, using their intimate knowledge of local terrain to devastating effect. In desert regions, they moved at night and buried themselves beneath the sand during day, becoming invisible to Merivan thermal sensors. In urban areas, they used their own infrastructure as weaponry, collapsing buildings onto Merivan units, flooding tunnels containing alien troops, even sacrificing their own power grids to create electromagnetic pulses against Merivan electronics. "They're not fighting to win battles," Lisha continued. "They're fighting to survive. For humans, that changes everything." Vaultek's secondary arms twitched in agitation. "The Imperium Strategic Council demands an explanation. We've never encountered such resistance from a pre-FTL species." "The explanation is simple, Commander." Lisha displayed historical footage from human conflicts. Humans have been fighting wars against themselves for their entire history. They've perfected the art of killing each other, which makes them exceptionally good at killing us. On Earth, something unprecedented was happening. In an underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, representatives from every nation sat together at a circular table, the first truly united Earth government in human history. "The aliens have withdrawn from North America and most of Europe," reported General Chen, her holographic image hovering above the table. "Australian forces have captured a fully intact alien vessel." Dr. Ramsey, head of the newly formed Alien Technology Integration Division, stood to address the assembly. We've made significant breakthroughs. Their shield technology operates on predictable harmonic frequencies. Their communication systems are vulnerable to specific electromagnetic disruptions. Most importantly, we've determined their FTL drive is based on principles surprisingly similar to our theoretical models. The United Earth Defense Council listened intently as scientists, military leaders, and intelligence analysts delivered report after report. Each piece of recovered alien technology, each observed tactical pattern, each intercepted communication brought humanity closer to not just survival, but victory. They expected us to behave like separate nations, said President Okafor, who had been elected as the first United Earth coordinator. They thought we would compete rather than cooperate. They were wrong. Back aboard the Dominant Consequence, the situation deteriorated hourly. Fleet Officer Jens delivered the latest grim update. We've lost contact with all ground forces in what they call Asia. The humans have adapted our own communication protocols to transmit false orders. Our troops are walking into ambushes. What about orbital superiority? Vaultek demanded. They cannot reach our ships in space. Actually, Commander, Jens hesitated, clearly reluctant to continue. They've modified their primitive space launch vehicles with our technology. They're now capable of reaching low orbit with weapons that can penetrate our shields. As if to confirm his report, the entire ship shuddered. Warning signals blazed across control panels. Impact on lower hull, shouted the defense officer. Shield penetration in sectors 12 through 15. Impossible, Vaultek roared, but the evidence was clear on the displays. Somehow, the humans had not only understood Miravan technology, but improved upon it in ways the Imperium hadn't considered. Sir, Lisha said quietly, there's something else you need to see. She projected an intercepted human broadcast. On screen, a human female in a white coat stood in a laboratory surrounded by disassembled pieces of Miravan technology. As we discovered, the human explained, gesturing to components, the alien power systems rely on a crystalline matrix that amplifies energy in ways our previous physics didn't predict. But we've already developed a method to enhance the output by 30% using modified graphene substrates. Lisha paused the broadcast. This was aired globally 3 hours ago. They're not just using our technology, Commander. They're improving it. For the first time in the history of the Miravan Imperium, an emergency full withdrawal was ordered. But even this proved more difficult than anticipated. Human forces had established a blockade of modified satellites around their planet, each capable of firing precisely targeted energy weapons based on captured Miravan technology. The Imperium's retreat became a desperate evacuation, with ships taking damage as they fought their way out of Earth orbit. What had begun as a routine conquest ended as the most devastating military defeat the Miravan Imperium had ever suffered. 3 weeks after the invasion began, a battered fleet limped back to Miravan's face. Of the 50 warships that had departed confidently for Earth, only 38 returned. Over 12,000 Miravan troops had been lost, with thousands more taken prisoner by the humans. The Strategic Council meeting that followed was unlike any in Imperium history. Gone was the confidence, the certainty of superiority. Instead, a stunned silence filled the chamber as Intelligence Officer Lisha delivered her final report. The humans not only repelled our invasion, she concluded, displaying footage of human engineers already incorporating Miravan technology into new defensive systems around their planet. They emerged stronger than before. Our attack forced them to unite. Our technology accelerated their development by an estimated century, and our presence revealed to them that they are not alone in the galaxy. Strategic Director Morev's cybernetic implants flickered as he processed the implications. Are you suggesting they pose a threat to the Imperium? Not yet, Lisha replied carefully. But they will. At their current rate of technological assimilation and improvement, I estimate they'll develop their own FTL capabilities within 5 years. Within 10, they'll have a space fleet comparable to our own, and they'll remember who attacked them first. High Commander Vaultek, his career effectively over after such a failure, spoke the question everyone was thinking. What do we do now? For the first time in the meeting, Imperial Overseer Drax, the highest authority in the chamber, leaned forward. His ancient features showed no emotion, but his voice carried the weight of one who had seen civilizations rise and fall. "We do what the Imperium has never done before," he said slowly. "We seek peace." The pronouncement sent shockwaves through the council. The Meravan Imperium had conquered, dominated, and ruled, but it had never negotiated as equals. "The humans would not accept peace," objected Fleet Commander Tens. "Not after our unprovoked attack." "They might," Lisha interjected, bringing up new intelligence. "Despite everything we did, they're treating our captured soldiers with surprising humanity." The display showed Meravan wounded receiving medical care in human facilities. They call it the Geneva Convention, rules of warfare they developed among themselves. Remarkably, they've extended these protections to us as well. "Send a diplomatic vessel," ordered Overseer Drax. "One ship, unarmed, under a flag of truce. We will offer reparations, technology exchange, and recognition of Earth as a sovereign and protected world within the galactic community." As preparations began for this unprecedented diplomatic mission, Lisha found herself summoned to a private meeting with Overseer Drax. The ancient Meravan studied her carefully before speaking. "You understood these humans from the beginning," he said. "You warned us, yet we did not listen." Lisha lowered her gaze respectfully. "I merely analyzed the data, Overseer." "My assessment was correct," Drax interrupted. "And now I need your assessment of what comes next, not just for the Imperium, but for the galaxy. These humans, what will they become?" Lisha considered carefully before answering. "They will not stay on their world, Overseer. It's not in their nature. They're explorers, innovators, and warriors when threatened, but they're also capable of remarkable compassion and cooperation." "A dangerous combination," Drax mused. "Yes," Lisha agreed, "but also a valuable one. If we can establish peaceful relations now, the humans could become powerful allies rather than enemies. And if we cannot, if they refuse our overtures." Lisha's expression grew somber. "Then the Meravan Imperium's attack on Earth will be remembered as the greatest strategic error in our history. We will have created the very thing we most fear, an enemy we cannot defeat." On Earth, the United Earth Defense Council debated their response to the approaching Meravan diplomatic vessel. The chamber was divided, with many calling for immediate destruction of the alien ship. "They attacked without provocation," argued General Volkov, his face scarred from fighting during the invasion. "Why should we trust them now?" Dr. Ramsey countered. "Because this is the moment that defines us. Do we become the vengeful species they feared, or do we show them what humanity truly is?" President Okafor listened to the arguments before making her decision. "We will meet with them," she announced, "under heavy guard with every precaution. But we will listen. That's what separates us from them. They assumed they knew everything about us without bothering to learn. We won't make the same mistake." As the Meravan diplomatic vessel entered Earth orbit under close surveillance from humanity's newly established Space Defense Force, a message was broadcast from the alien ship. "People of Earth," began the transmission, Lisha's face appearing on screens worldwide. "We come seeking peace, having learned a costly lesson. The Meravan Imperium gravely misjudged your world and your species. We offer our sincere apologies and seek to establish diplomatic relations in living rooms, command centers, and refugee camps across the planet." Humans watched the broadcast with emotions ranging from anger to cautious hope. The invasion had cost millions of lives, destroyed cities, and forever altered human history. Yet already, Earth was rebuilding, adapting, and growing stronger. "Tell us," President Okafor replied. Her response broadcast back to the Meravan ship. "Why should we trust you now?" Lisha's answer was simple but profound. "Because you have taught us something no species has managed in 10,000 years of Meravan expansion. You have taught us humility." As the diplomatic talks began, word spread throughout the galaxy. The seemingly unstoppable Meravan Imperium had been defeated, not by another advanced civilization, but by a pre-FTL species on a small blue planet at the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm. In distant council chambers and fleet headquarters across a dozen star systems, the same question echoed. Who would be foolish enough to invade Earth? The answer, now clear to all, was no one.